Today we continue the pirate section at Castaway Key Zoo with the American alligator. I even threw some extra morphs in here by Vince, which I'm super excited to show off. So without further ado, welcome back everyone to Castaway Key Zoo. God, you guys have no idea how excited I am for this build. Okay, so I went into this build, by the way, I'm Leaf, by the way. Hi, my name is Leaf. So I went into this build really with the idea like, you know, this is just going to be like, kind of like a throwaway habitat. This isn't really going to be anything that's going to be like the start of the show. No, this is probably one of my favorite habitats in this entire zoo because it was so fun just to be able to put together. And it's so simple. Don't get me wrong. It's very simple. It's just like a pool with a little bit of land area. But it was just so fun just to work on like the small details in here and just like all this theming. I don't know, I really do like it. And it's going to lead to a really fun area as well. So you can see I'm starting off over here, and keep in mind I am using that flattened terrain tool for once. So I'm putting that every so often in between these like height increments, and kind of just working with that as we kind of make our way throughout here. Also working in here, just trying to connect that with the rest of the pathways so we can actually get our alligators in here. Keep in mind, I am using the American Alligator remaster, which isn't really a remaster, but it adds different morphs. So I am using that. It's by Vince, otherwise known as Incognito. He's a really awesome Planet Zoo mod creator. Not really active right now, but he's going to be back eventually. They always come back. But he actually has this very beautiful mod that gives the alligator so many more morphs. It gives it like a black morph, an orange morph, piebald morph. Really awesome stuff. So that's kind of what we're working with today. But before we actually do get to that point, I want to do a little bit of a custom fence. I was very inspired by one that I found on like the Parkitect mod page. It's just a very basic pirate kind of like rope fence. So you can see it's just a couple of V's, and then I use the rope coils every so now and again. Not really the coils, but the knots from the Africa pack. So I throw a few of those guys in there, and it's just a really awesome thing. I even do like a little bit of like a round post with the with like the new bark pieces. I do like a little bit of a round log, and I kind of make every one so a little bit tilted every now and again, just to have it feel a little bit more organic, and have it be a little bit more different from the last piece. I don't know, I kind of like to do that stuff. It's always super fun. So I kind of have that going on all throughout here, and I have it work its way up until this top part, which I don't really do too much work on as of now. I'm saving that for when I actually do get the idea to work on something. I think I definitely do want to bring in the Siamangs because they did have their brachiation fixed, but I'm not really sure what I want. Maybe I'll keep it all South and Central America. I'm not sure. Maybe it might be Jaguar. Who knows? But I go throughout here with an initial kind of stalactite rock formation, just making sure that everything feels as coherent as it should be. A lot of the times when you are building in like a zoo this big, one of the things to keep in mind is making sure that everything follows kind of like the same style, more or less. So a lot more of the building techniques that you are using in the zoo, you would want to use every now and again, just to help keep that consistent theming as you kind of like continue to flesh out the zoo a lot more. You don't want to have a zoo where it's like it feels like a different part was made by someone else entirely and follows a completely different style. That's just not going to mesh well for a finished product, so making sure that you're able to continue kind of like this very coherent theming as you make your way throughout these zoos is always super important. And that's exactly what I try and do throughout here. So I'm using a whole lot of blueprints that are already made. So you'll notice once I actually do get rid of some of these animals and actually get some normal crocodiles in here, I use some of those faux rocks that we used in our last habitat. Very simple, it's just the faux rocks on top of a cladding piece, and it creates this beautiful dynamic look in here. Really helps give it like a nice rugged rock kind of look. And I also decorate like the edge of the water with more stalactites because it just creates this nice kind of rocky coast look, which is something I really wanted in here because we are working in like this kind of like swamp environment. So I don't know, I'm very excited for this stuff to like really hammer down on. But yeah, that's really it. So I add a few enrichment pieces all throughout here, just as a way to help keep these animals a little bit more active, maybe keep them out of the water every so often, which is so crazy because once I added those pieces, they don't really stay in the water. Like once I actually start to build in here, they don't stay in the water at all, which is a little bit of a shame. Now, speaking of the water, I am doing a whole lot of waterscaping. So I am using a whole mix of different pieces: eelgrass, buffalo grass, hydrilla grass, and I think I even use like the periwinkles. Oh yeah, I also use those panels from the aquatic pack to kind of create a little bit more of an interesting water dynamic happening down below. I thought that was super cool. But I also used the periwinkles to create duckweed. I thought that was a really fun thing. I did that way back in the day, back in not City Conservation Center, Riverside Discovery Center, I think, Riverside Discovery Zoo. It's been a while. I gotta revisit that zoo. I forgot I even finished that. But yeah, that's one of the things I did back there that I haven't really been doing too often, so I want to do that again and bring that in here. One of the other things I did as well was start to use these fern pieces again. I should probably do like a little blueprint set. I think that'd be a really fun thing to put together for you guys. Just a lot of really awesome, useful pieces for you guys to build with. Just very versatile pieces when all is said and done, just to help areas come alive a lot more. I feel like that's always super important to have, especially once you kind of create your own style and kind of create like your own brand off of that. I feel like it's always super important, especially with these bushes. Oh my gosh, I love those guys. Also adding the rest of the ferns as well. The ferns, the elephant ears, pretty much anything that screams tropical we have in here. And just creating that nice lush environment. Super fun to do. Really do recommend it, guys. What I also do is throw down a little bit of a keeper hut as well, because I never had one to begin with in this zoo, which is a little bit weird. So I finally add one down so our animals can eat. And I add a few more fences throughout here, especially back at our monkey area. I didn't even have any signage back there, which is a little bit of a shame, a little bit of a blunder on my part, but I do get everything nice and fixed up every now and again. So everything is nice and coherent, everything flows nicely, and it just all looks super awesome to begin with. I'm super amazed how quickly this habitat came together, but it's just so beautiful to be said. I don't know, I just really do like that kind of stuff. Also repeated that same guest entrance, not guest entrance, but keeper entrance right there as well, because we needed something right there. Another thing I did over here too was use those same bushes as kind of like creeping vines. I thought that was a really fun way to integrate a lot more color into the build and have it feel like it's a lot more covered up by nature. Like nature has started to reclaim this kind of fort, and I thought that was really fun to put together. I don't know, I always do love that kind of stuff. Also adding the rest of the animal signs in here as well. I've been doing that all throughout the rest of the zoo, but I forgot to do it for like these sections over here. So that's a little bit of a shame, but I'm happy I was able to get rid of but add all the stuff that we were missing, especially like some guest interaction stuff. I've been slacking with that, so I was like, okay, you know what, we can use this part of the episode to kind of continue that little interaction between guests and the zoo as well. So I add stuff like benches, I add stuff like those little toys that the actual like the kids can play with. I don't really know. But what I also do over here, I disable climbing everywhere, because keep in mind, we do have that tool now. You can easily switch off climbing to give yourself a huge FPS boost in your zoos. I really need to do that for like the Fusa build. I really need to do that for like the entire zoo in general, because I need to save as many frame rates as I can, just so I'm able to comfortably build in these zoos. But yeah, that's really it. I also felt like the other side was lacking a little bit more detail, so I wanted to have like this nice natural area as you look out from the fort into the ocean. I thought it was just a really awesome vista that we couldn't pass up on. So I add a whole bunch of different colorful plants in here as well. I add some of those bromeliads, I add some of the birds of paradise, and then from there I was like, okay, you know what? This would be a great place to sit. Let's get some benches down here. So I add the benches, I add the bins. These European bins are just perfect for this area. And as I was placing them down, I was like, we have free build. We could do something a little bit fun. So I do this weird kind of like chandelier looking thing. I really don't know what overcame me with this. It's kind of like a repurposed chandelier light. Not really sure why we would want light over here to begin with, but I thought it was a really, really fun kind of showcase of what Freebuild can do. And it just looks super awesome when all is said and done. So I have like the initial look of how I want it to be. And I start to add the rest of the pieces as well. Just creating like this nice little loop in between here. And I start to connect the rest of the pieces in a bit. But I really wanted to get that initial rope kind of swing down first. And then I start to add the rest of the pieces in here as well. Just, I don't know, I really do love that. And the perfect part about this is that the area lights for the, well, for the lighting really fit snug perfectly inside the bin. So I thought that was a really fun way to integrate that. But that is it, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Hope you guys are still enjoying this series. I know I am still enjoying building for it. But thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I can't wait to see you all in the next video. Take care and have the most wonderful of wonderful days. Goodbye now.